The Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday, Tuesday, Casual Tuesday, Wednesday, Casual Hump Day, Thursday, Casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, December 10th, 2021. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. Just breaking, a Supreme Court allows the challenge to the Texas abortion law to go forward. Meanwhile, debt ceiling en route to being raised as the filibuster gets a brief carve-out. British judge says Julian Assange is eligible to be extradited to the U.S. Federal judge rules that Trump can't shield documents from January 6th. Meanwhile, email from Meadows to Trump exposes details of the January 6th plot. The New York Attorney General Tish James announces she will not be running for governor after all, dropping out of the race, and then proceeds to subpoena Trump to testify in the Trump Inc. fraud case. Inflation hits a 39-year high. It's also likely a peak. And at least one Buffalo Starbucks will be unionized. Meanwhile, 1,400 Kellogg's workers reject their contract offer as Kellogg says it's going to permanently replace them. New York City votes to give all legal residents, I should say the city council votes to give all legal residents, including non-citizens, the right to vote in local elections. In Mexico, a truck carrying migrants overturns, killing 53. Turns out the Biden administration actually did reject the idea for universal free COVID tests sent to Americans. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. It is Friday, and joining me as always, Emma Vigland. Hello, Emma.
Hello, Sam. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I am well. Happy Friday.
Thank you very much. It is Friday. We're okay with that sound. Well, I don't know. We got a little sound issue on the opening. That's fine. We will get over it. It is Friday. Oh, and I should also say I didn't introduce our guests for today. Joining us on the program today, Digby from the blog Hullaballoo, and Andy Kindler from the blog andykindler.com. I'm not sure if he ever goes there. I don't know if he's...
Does he characterize it as a blog?
I don't know if he calls it a blog. I don't even know if it's a website. I don't know if he ever updates that thing or at all. That's one of the things we're going to talk to Kindler about, is what's going on with his website these days. We should say, speaking of websites, much of what we do, obviously, is consumed by people via the web, the internet, as people refer to it. Well, you could see us IRL. That's in real life.
As I started to say this, I realized I totally forgot to mention this on the show yesterday, and I wrote it in big letters in my notes, and I totally forgot. Anyway.
That's all right. That's all right. We don't have that many tickets left anyways, and so it's probably good to spread it out like this. But on January 16th, we are going to be celebrating the big live show.
It'll be the biggest crowd of the Wilbur Theater of all time.
It's going to be huge. Wilbur Theater, folks, in Boston. It is, they've had amazing luminaries, and then also shows like Mark Maron will be going there, I think, sometime in the spring. But you can get your tickets right now at majoritylive.com. Joining us so far, Natalie Schur. Spoke to her last week. John Benjamin. I haven't talked to him in years. It's going to be awkward to have him there after all this time. Larry Murphy, also from Bob's Burgers, famous voice actor in the voice actor circles. So these guys, and of course Larry's a Boston native, and John Benjamin's a Worcester native, Worcester, Massachusetts.
Where's that?
Coincidentally, is where I grew up as well.
Oh.
And that is about 40 miles west of Boston. And so it's sure to be fun. 3 p.m. in the afternoon, easy to fly in, fly out. Next day is Martin Luther King's birthday celebrated. And so that is a great opportunity for you to come. We get all sorts of surprises. We're already working on stuff. And so it should be pretty crazy. Speaking of crazy, where do I put my sound sheet? I thought I had that right here. Oh, here it is. This is pretty exciting and also in some ways disturbing. Apparently Howard Schultz's talk to some of those Starbucks workers in Buffalo just didn't stick. They didn't appreciate that they're like people in the Holocaust.
Or maybe they drew a different lesson than the one that he was trying to make them draw. I don't know.
It was a bit ambiguous as to what lesson he was trying to communicate there, but he did shoehorn the Holocaust into it. So
he did shoehorn the Holocaust, and and the thing is that I think probably if he looks back on it, he may be sitting down with some of his advisors and they're going like, maybe that message about like everybody sort of like having solidarity with each other as opposed to the people who are sort of managing them. Maybe that was not the message you wanted to communicate, Howard.
Got to rework that one.
Yeah, I think so. Here are Starbucks. Now, there were 3 votes. One, Starbucks voted to not unionize. One, I think, has contested votes, and I don't think the result is out yet. But one, Starbucks at the Elmwood Avenue location in Buffalo, this is their reaction to voting for the union. They seem pretty excited. And this is the first Starbucks in the nation that has unionized. And obviously, one shop is in and of itself not a huge event. But the idea that you could start to see maybe many shops across the country, Starbucks unionizing, it's a big deal. And there was a big enough deal that Howard Schultz flew in and spoke to them directly, so they knew what kind of big deal this was.
And you mentioned that there's still an outstanding vote, but More Perfect Union reported at least yesterday that the 7 additional ballots that were challenged and will be open later, a source close to the union believes that those ballots will not change the final outcome, which was a vote to unionize the second store. So
that's pretty exciting.
It's likely that it would be 2 for 3, which is very exciting, obviously.
That's the era we are living in, where people returning back to work after COVID, or maybe having worked through the whole thing. We've talked about this in a bunch of different ways. You have a lot of people who are quitting their jobs and finding other ones. You're seeing low wage workers getting higher wages than they were pre-COVID, and so there is. We could just be in an era where workers are beginning to understand their power. And you're also seeing this stuff is contagious. I mean, it's not like Omicron level contagious, or maybe even not even Delta, but it may be somewhere around wild type level contagious.
You're learning from Howard Schultz in order to like apply these
Really bad metaphors.
really bad metaphors to the union effort.
But the point is that I think when people see other workers successfully unionize, other workers successfully, I mean, I think there's no doubt in my mind that the Kellogg's workers, 1,400 of them who rejected the offer that came down, they saw what happened with the John Deere workers and so on. And so it's an exciting time for labor, and we will see what happens. We'll get to, we're going to bring Digby on in just a moment or two, but, this is exciting news. So, one of today's sponsors, Sunset Lake Seder, and I misplaced my sign, but, just a reminder, sunsetlakeseder.com, left is best, one word, gets you 20% off of all their stuff. In the beginning of December, around the time, there it is, around the time when we were around Black Friday, we started a program with Sunset Lake where they were going to donate a certain percentage of their sales over that time. And we here at the Majority Report are going to match it. And we were giving the money to givedirectly.org, which was a charity I found on GiveWell, several years ago. And what this charity does, you give the money, and they give the money directly to people living in extreme poverty. And they allow those people to decide what's the best way to deploy those resources. We, Sunset Lake just announced on Twitter and on Instagram, combined, we're going to be sending over $21,000 to givedirectly.org. And so that's super exciting. This is the nature of this company. They have given thousands of dollars in support of strikes, in support of food pantries, in support of other programs that up and outside of Burlington. And they also make a great product. They have just as much integrity in their product, the smokables, the tincture, the gummies, the fudge, the coffee, the salve, the lotion. Check it out.
I've been using that lotion recently because it's dry out.
Super dry. I've been using the salve on my calves. Not to,
Jesus
highlight the
Christ.
calves. Yeah, there it is. sunsetlakeseder.com. Use the code LEFTISBEST. You get 20% off. Check it out. Great company, great products. You're going to enjoy it. And thank you to Sunset Lake. That couldn't have gone better with the Give Directly thing. They were fantastic throughout.
Yes, I felt like Vanna White there. That was a real great
You did that well.
It was a great moment.
Meanwhile, another longtime listener and fan of the show was working for solar companies, did not like what he saw in terms of their practices. And so he started a consultation business, mysolarnerd.com, and basically to guide homeowners through the process of getting solar. There's a lot of homeowners that aren't aware that solar options are currently available. It is now possible to retrofit with solar panels for no money down. Most homeowners that switch over to solar see significant savings starting in their first year. And this is possible largely in part to the solar investor tax credit, which gives you a 26% tax credit. This is only, it's been extended because of the COVID bill. This will drop down in the following year to 22%. So now is the time to do this. What does mysolarnerd.com do? Well, their mission is simple. They help you find the best solar program for your home and make the transition as easy and smooth as possible. How do they do it? They analyze your usage. They find the best equipment for your needs. They determine the incentives and financing you might qualify for. And then they project manage the process between you and the installers. They obtain the permits. They do everything that's necessary. And you end up with solar You don't want to wait on this. Some of those tax credits and incentives are sunsetting. You may be eligible for some in your state. MySolarNerd.com will know. Some markets which are prone to power outages might qualify for off-grid backup solutions. And Majority Report listeners are going to get a $200 gift card upon installation of their solar system. So you go to mysolarnerd.com. You fill out the inquiry form now. Make sure you select Majority Report listener for how you heard about mysolarnerd.com to get your $200 gift card upon installation. Check it out, mysolarnerd.com. They will walk you through this process and you will start saving money. And also, in many instances, I imagine a lot of people getting off of, saving fossil fuel at one point or in the process. So, you'll be helping doing all of us a solid. MySolarNerd.com. All right. Don't forget, too, we have merch in the merch store. And justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, tea, or chocolate. Use the coupon code MAJORITY. Get 10% off. Check that out. And if you want to support this program, become a member. Join the MajorityReport.com. Meanwhile, want to welcome back to the program the proprietor of the Uber blog Hullaballoo and the there we go. There's the Digby. It's been too long. Hi, Heather. How are you?
Hey, Sam. I'm fine. I miss you. For 5 years,
Miss you too.
I talk to you every week, and now you're just like a faint memory.
I know it. I know. We're no longer doing the Ring of Fire, but we'll figure out something else. But I am enjoying sort of a little bit of extra time off during the course of the week. So we're here with Emma. Heather, I think I neglected to say up front too, you write at salon.com. You've been writing about Mark Meadows' book and Trump sort of congealing his power around the Republican Party in 2020. I know you've been following what's happening with January 6th. And let's talk about this because there is some crazy stuff. Mark Meadows, apparently there was an email that Mark Meadows said, and now he decided the other day that he was not going to cooperate with the January 6th commission, which I want to get your take on what that was about, because it feels like he got in trouble with Donald Trump because he told the world that Trump had COVID and tried to give it to everybody and is trying to make up in some way for this. And simultaneously, you could just say that Steve Bannon's criminal contempt charge brought by the DOJ is not going to be heard by the judge until like mid-July of 2022, which of course is dangerously close to the time that Democrats will probably lose the control of the House. Give me your take on all this.
Well, I mean, it's been kind of a wild week. It's a couple of weeks, starting with the leaks about Mark Meadows' new book, which I actually have read, and I can just tell anybody, don't bother. It is one of the most, smarmy, sickening, bootlicking exercises you could possibly imagine. But having said that, and I remember writing about this, years ago when Trump first hired Meadows as his chief of staff, I'm going, whoa, really? Because, this guy is not the sharpest tool in the shed, and he really isn't. There was nothing in his life or experience or anything that would have prepared him for a job like that, which is huge. The chief of staff to the president of the United States is a gigantic job. You're basically running the government in many ways. And this guy had absolutely no qualifications to do that. His main qualification was his deep and abiding affection and loyalty for Donald Trump. And Trump has this habit of confusing that loyalty and obsequiousness for competence. He assumes if you love me, you must be great. You're great. You're great. And so he didn't really, I don't think he ever realized just how terrible Mark Meadows was at even doing what he wanted him to do, which was protect him, cover his back. And I think this book has finally awakened him to the man that he actually had in that job. Meadows also now realizes that the guy he worships, and in the book, he's a saint, he's a Superman, he's just, just goes on and on and on about what an incredible human being Donald Trump is. I know it's really hard to take. And he's realizing now that, he's not immune from Donald Trump's wrath. And what happened was that these are two people who really didn't know each other at all. And as a result, Meadows wrote this book. Trump blurbed it and said, hey, it's terrific, it's fantastic. And he didn't read it, of course, because he doesn't read. And he didn't task anybody.
He didn't even have he didn't even have an assistant read the book. Right.
No, exactly. He trusted his boy Meadows to do the right thing. And so, of course, everybody knows now what he said in there about, and it wasn't just about the COVID thing, which is honestly, it may be the worst thing Trump's ever done, which was go around knowingly spreading COVID. And I know he knew it. It's ridiculous. If the account in Meadows' book is correct, Trump was sick as a dog for days and days and days. And he went to that debate sick as a dog. He was saying, he couldn't, he had no energy. His ashen face was looking a little bit more like his usual bronze hue. He says this, but he was sick at that debate. And, if you remember that particular debate, that was the one where he acted like an animal. He was completely out of control. Chris Wallace was sitting there going, what the hell? He couldn't control him. And he was out of his mind. Well, I kind of wonder, to be honest with you, between you and me and everybody who's listening, if somebody didn't give him a little shot of steroids before that.
Oh my God.
Well,
amphetamines or something like that. We don't know, but it's
something to we don't know. I'm guessing, speculating. Some people are saying, okay. So in any case, this yes, my body's a temple. This particular, this book, I think what it did was wake Donald Trump up to the fact that Mark Meadows is a dolt, and he is regretting giving him permission to deal with the January 6th committee. Recall just a couple weeks ago, Trump put out a statement that said, about his friend Bernie Kerik, right? The former commissioner, New York police commissioner, who's also was a convicted felon whom he pardoned, that I have granted him permission to go before the January 6th committee and give them all the information that he has, because they're going to have a big surprise when they see that the election was stolen. So he's granting permission to certain people to go before the committee. And I have to assume that he granted that permission to Mark Meadows, his boy, and then realized this week, once it turned out that he had totally screwed the pooch and spilled the beans on the COVID thing, that was a mistake. And he pulled him back and said, no, you can't do it. Well, it's too late, because he may not, I don't know what Meadows' testimony would have brought, although considering just how incompetent he is, the idea that anybody would have ever thought he could, go up against the likes of Jamie Raskin or Adam Schiff or, some of the sharp lawyers that are on the committee is kind of laughable. But all these documents, it turns out that he turned over a ton of documents. And what we now know is that in some of those documents are really, really incriminating evidence that they were plotting this thing, including last night it was reported that there was a PowerPoint presentation that was done with the coup plot on it in a PowerPoint. And by the way, I saw on Twitter somebody pulled up Laura Logan's Twitter feed from January 5th. And somehow knew she had a hold of this or some preliminary version of this PowerPoint. And she was sent it out to her Twitter followers saying, this is what they're being briefed on in the Hill. So this was going out to all of their people. We know Laura Logan is God knows she's one of their people. This more and more and more, it's become obvious that this is what Steve Bannon was talking about when he said, get ready, strap in, this thing is happening, everybody, all you people, get lined up, or whatever he was saying on his podcast. So, this is, whether it's going to end up going anywhere, you got me, I don't know, but it's fascinating stuff anyway.
Yeah, the PowerPoint is, and maybe you guys can find it. It is entitled. I know it's online. I just went through it. It's entitled "Election Fraud, Foreign Interference, and Options for January 6th." It was dated January 5th. It was in an email that Meadows gave to the committee. I mean, he gave all these documents probably, I don't know, weeks ago, maybe. I don't know when he thought like, oh, I can testify, and then I'm not allowed to testify. This thing is nuts. It basically goes through Vice President Pence seats Republican electors over the objections of Democrats in states where fraud occurred. Vice President Pence rejects the electors from states where fraud occurred, causing the election to be decided by the remaining electoral votes. Or Vice President delays the decision in order to allow for a vetting and subsequent counting of all the legal paper ballots. And then it basically goes on, and then it says, recommendations, brief senators and congressmen on foreign interference. We'll get to that in a second. Declare a national security emergency. I mean, foreign influence and control of electronic voting systems. Declare electronic voting in all states invalid. Legal and genuine paper ballot counts. This is, I think this is something that was put together by the MyPillow guy. And it basically says that, this is the key issue for the talking points. China has leveraged financial, non-governmental, and foreign allies, including Venezuela, to acquire influence and control the U.S. voting infrastructure in at least 28 states. Key issue in 2020, critical infrastructure control utilized as part of an ongoing globalist socialist operation to subvert the will of United States voters and install a China ally. I mean, put aside the idea that they would go forward with this, which, who knows how close they were, right? I mean, it's really Mike Pence, if he was willing to go along with it. Certainly there were senators who were probably pushing him to do this. And there were certainly others, and the rally itself was supposed to be a pressure point and maybe more. And what if they had succeeded not just in overturning the election, but making the argument that China with Venezuela was not just buying ads on Facebook to interfere, but literally had control of the voting infrastructure in more than half the states. What do we do at that point with China? I mean, this is Donald Trump coup, and then how do you not go to war with China?
Yeah, why General Milley? Yeah, you wonder why General Milley was calling up his counterpart in China, going, "Hey, relax, it's okay, we got this under control." I mean, the fact is that this stuff was circulating around in the White House in the highest reaches, and Bill Barr had said that his greatest concern was that there would be some foreign interference, remember, in mail-in voting. That was his big thing. He was saying long before the election even. So this stuff was out there circulating. I mean, maybe the MyPillow guy sort of put this thing together, but I mean, he wasn't the one who came up with all of this. This was something that had been, obviously discussed in those circles even before the election. So, we're talking about a plan here. Now, look, Donald Trump is basically insane about the election. He really is. If you read his statements, he sends out, he doesn't have a Twitter feed anymore, but he sends out statements, from the desk of the former president of the United States, whatever. And he sends it out to his massive mailing list. And so, and what he is obsessed with the election. I mean, it's just every day. It's like, oh, they found 3 more votes in, in Michigan, and, it's some kind of, obscure county in Pennsylvania. I mean, he's following this stuff on the right wing, in the right-wing media in minute detail. And it's sick. I mean, obviously and in fact, Axios reported, I think this week, that there are people that say when they go down to Mar-a-Lago to talk to him about anything, he can't concentrate on anything but the 2020 election. And his entire, consciousness is devoted to the idea of him being restored to the presidency, whether it's before 2024, which is of course ludicrous, or more, 2024 in the 2024 election. So, you're dealing with somebody who's really kind of nuts. On the other hand, the scary part, and this came out in an article this week that by Barton Gellman in The Atlantic, which I'm sure you've talked about and everybody's been reading and blah, 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 about what he gave it kind of a holistic view of what's going on in the Republican Party nationally and across the country in various state legislatures, along with, he spoke to a bunch of individual Republicans, MAGA people who, sort of color, give color to the attitudes that are sort of driving this thing. That's beyond Donald Trump. I mean, what's happening in the state legislatures, what's even happening in Washington, it has now taken on a life of its own. It starts off with the idea of the big lie and the 2020 election, but now they have moved into, every swing state, and they have targeted certain ones, the usual suspects, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, all the usual. Yeah. And they've targeted those, and they have now got an army of people who are working on behalf of Donald Trump, but really on behalf of the Republican Party. This is a power grab by the party now. It's not just Donald Trump. They're putting in place all these election laws that are designed basically to give power to Republican office holders to overturn elections. I mean, that's all there is to it. If you can't view it any other way, it goes way beyond gerrymandering and all the usual shenanigans that you find in our election system. This is something really new. And one of the main aspects of this is this thing called the independent state legislature doctrine, which actually originated, well, I don't know if it originated here, but it was first sort of came to people's attention in Bush versus Gore. William Rehnquist and Antonin Scalia wrote in their concurrence with the Bush versus Gore opinion that state legislatures have a plenary right to decide the electors. And how that's being interpreted, and rightly so if you believe Rehnquist and Scalia, who were explicitly making this argument, that state legislatures have a right to overturn elections. And essentially that there is no, inherent right. You remember Scalia very famously said, there is no right to vote in the Constitution. Right. So, I mean, it comes from this idea that they have a right to, and of course they'll make an excuse. I mean, people are sort of, when they talk about this, they're sort of acting like the state legislature is just going to say, well, we're overturning it. No, they'll come up with an excuse. And all of that has been built up over a long period of time before Donald Trump ever came on the scene, that there's massive voting fraud in the country and that they have to step in to ensure fairness and integrity. And so they're going to overturn elections.
Right. Now, the predicate's been laid for the idea that there's massive fraud. Right.
Right. And they want, this is something that their people and the people who, who follow them. And by the way, this is being backed. It's not Sidney Powell or Rudy Giuliani or Lynn Wood or these other, Kraken lunatics they had working on the 2020 post-election fraud stuff. These are major lawyers in the Federalist Society, people like that who are working on this stuff, who have, recognized. I mean, what Gelman's piece points out is that they saw all the flaws in the system. Donald Trump was this, he was this chaos agent who came in. And for whatever bad or good he did as, personally for them, what he did do was expose every, little hole in the dike in our rickety electoral system. And they are now setting about exploiting that, looking at themselves as a minority, in the country for the near future. They realizing this is the way to do it. And it's actually become a systematic thing within the Republican Party. It's no longer Trump just ranting and raving down in Mar-a-Lago. These are people who've actually decided within the group. And here's where you can see the effects of that already in just stuff that happened this week. Like, McConnell and Schumer worked out a deal to raise the debt ceiling. And, everybody knows that debt ceiling had to be raised, right? I mean, Republicans understand that. McConnell understands that, it doesn't look good for him if the Republicans block the raising of the debt ceiling. All the normal political, the political dynamics were in play. But they had a real revolt on their hands that this deal, it was designed by McConnell to allow his own people to save face and not have to take a vote that they don't want to take to raise the debt ceiling, and continuing this fiction that raising the debt ceiling is somehow akin to spending new money, all the rest of it. But Lindsey Graham went into the meeting, according to The Hill, and that they had with the Republican caucus, and he said, Donald Trump's going to be really upset about this. Mitch McConnell is leading us up a hill, and we're going to be shot in the back. And somebody, I mean, this is how they talk about. This is their own party, right? And then some other senator is quoted as saying, "Yes, it's terrifying, and God have mercy on our souls." I mean, this is
we should be clear. This is for voting for a procedural vote, which is going to allow the Democrats to unilaterally lift the debt ceiling, which is a pro forma thing. And they're literally talking about it as if, I don't know, they're saying the same words that, like, probably, I don't know, the guys who flew the atomic bombs over, like, I mean, really, they think they're jumping out of an airplane, essentially, without a parachute.
Yeah, that's how they feel about it. And, you know, and Lindsey Graham, of all people listening, they're saying, well, they did manage to do it, right? I mean, McConnell has enough clout, and there is enough real political, I mean, Trump doesn't know what he's talking about, right? When it comes to real political strategy like that, it's way above his head. So they kind of know, but they're terrified. And I shouldn't say, you know, they are terrified, and they're complicit. They're both, I think, at this point. I mean, they are seeing the advantages and exploiting the advantages that Trump is giving them, and they're also terrified of coming into his. And
there's probably there's people who are on both sides of that, and so people have different makeup of that. I mean, and this is important, and I just want to add to that sort of. I remember the clip of Raffensperger, I think it is, or was it the guy in Georgia? Is that his name?
Yeah.
The Secretary of State.
Yes.
Who was on Mehdi Hassan's show and refusing to say that he wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. And this is a guy who's received his family, receiving death threats because of Donald Trump. And the fear is, particularly the political fear, is real in terms of Trump. But they're also, I think many of them are just inclined, like, they're like Trump. I mean, so it's, some are, to the extent that there's anybody left in that party who's not like Trump. And again, this is stuff we were saying 5 or 6 years ago, is that it's not that they became like Trump. It's just that Trump was the fulfillment of what they were becoming or had become. And so these machinations that you're talking about, the idea that they're never going to do this. No, they're perfectly willing to do it if they can get away with it. Yep.
They're doing it. And in fact, Gelman points out in his piece in the Atlantic an element of this that's really important to recognize. He says Donald Trump has created a mass movement in this country, and it's an unusual one. It's not, usually you find young people and, sort of, people who are sort of disenfranchised, right, involved in such a thing. And what he points out is that when they went and looked at the demographics of the people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th, these were mostly middle-aged, middle-class, semi and affluent people, small business people. These are not fringe people. They're very mainstream members of the Republican Party. That, now it's true that it was a small number, but they're representative, as Gelman points out, of maybe 20, 25 million people. And that mass movement, many of whom are extremely hostile, have violent tendencies, as we know, because they are armed to the teeth. And that is an element, I think, that pervades this whole question, which is this, and January 6th really, I think, brought that home for everyone, which is that, there is a group in this country who are convinced that they have been denied their rightful place, and that Trump having the election stolen is a slap in their face, and they are willing to take their country back by any means necessary. And that includes violence, that violent undercurrent. Like this woman down in Georgia who was working in the elections there, she just sued a bunch of people, including the Gateway Pundit, I think, and some other, right-wing figures, who was an election worker. the threats were so bad, the FBI told her she had to leave her home. She had to leave her home. She and her family had to actually, move because they were being threatened. It turns out today I saw a thing where Kanye West PR person was down there.
Yeah.
Threatening her.
Yeah. Do we have that sound? Or
I believe we do, yes.
Yeah, let's watch this. This is amazing. This is as Digby set up, this is a woman who was an election, I mean, call her an official, I guess. Yeah, an election worker in Georgia. And these lunatics have become convinced that the entire election turned on what this woman did. The FBI has basically said you got to go into hiding, more or less.
And we should say too that this I guess conflict or this interaction happened in this Georgia election workers or in a suburban home. This was not in the actual facility where they were counting ballots, which is what I thought when I saw the headline initially.
Yeah, this is body cam footage from the Cobb County Police Department, and you have Kanye West's publicist is speaking with Ruby Freeman, who is the Georgia election worker. Do we know why Kanye West's publicist was doing this?
Reuters says the visitor, Trevion Kuti, gave her name but didn't say she worked for West, a longtime billionaire fan of Trump. She said she was sent by a high-profile individual. And she basically says, confess to Trump's voter fraud allegations or people would be at her home in 48 hours and she'd go to jail. That's what she said to the election.
Watch this.
Thank you.
No problem.
Good evening. How are you? So thank you so much for agreeing to meet with us. We didn't want to frighten you, but we had to find you within this time bracket. I'm here because I received a call. Not that I didn't know about the situation before, because I had heard, but it wasn't a serious concern for me because I had actually nothing to do with it. We would like to let you know first and foremost, we have put in placement a way to move you, to secure you from what may be on the horizon within the next 48 hours. And we have probably 48 hours in which to move you, and we do it on your schedule. I cannot say what specifically will take place. I just know that it will disrupt your freedom and particularly the freedom of one or more family members. I would like to connect now on the phone Harrison Floyd, who would be taking this situation to a detailed level for you to let you know exactly what is at stake, what choices you have, whether you choose or not to deal with us. I am not your enemy. This is Garrison. He works with me. You are elusive for a party that needs to tidy up. I work with some of the biggest names in the industry. Crisis is my thing. One thing we don't want to do for you is create another person. I'm going to call Harrison Floyd. I'm going to put him on speaker. Who is Harrison Floyd? Harrison Floyd is Harrison Floyd. Of that report for crisis management, very high level with authoritative powers to give you the protection that you need. I want the officers to know this is at this moment a conversation in between private citizens. I am hoping that you are trusting that this information doesn't go any further. I have to honestly advise, I don't know her background.
I can step over there if you're comfortable. That's fine?
Yeah, I want her to be comfortable, but I also want to advise her that there are federal people who are involved here that I don't know who is connected to who. And I really need for her to be as nonchalant as possible with this conversation that we are going to have, so that if she does make a decision, she's protected in her decisions.
First of all, nonchalant does not mean what that woman thinks it means. But aside from that, this is bat crap crazy stuff. but there's somebody issuing
Lunacy.
what otherwise somewhat normal people might, think is like these edicts. And
Well,
she's
she's speaking the language of a Hollywood fixer type, but of trying to apply it basically to, but she's also crazy. There's that. But like, this is kind of the way people might be twisting arms in backroom deals. And she's trying to apply it to just this frightened Georgia election worker, and is name dropping. Like when she said Harrison Ford, I said, okay, we're moving into cute territory where every celebrity is connected to every other celebrity, and it all means something.
Tom Hanks has sent me.
Yeah.
But this is, I mean, this is what's going on out there. I mean, there's a lot of these people.
She's a 62-year-old temporary election worker.
Right. I mean, this is happening a lot. I just read one of the healthcare workers, the head of the California Medical Association, which, they basically all they do is they certify doctors and, monitor the medical profession. She's been surveilled for weeks now by some group that's following her and her family all over the place. And they finally told the cops, and the state legislature's involved. I mean, and it's some right-wing group going after, that's going after the medical profession over vaccines and mask mandates and what have you. This stuff is happening everywhere. The school boards, public health people, election workers. That's what I'm talking about. This thread of violence that's going through here. It's in violence and intimidation. And when you think about the reaction to, say, Kyle Rittenhouse and what we just observed, where the right wing just is treating him, I mean, he immediately flew down to Mar-a-Lago, right? And he's now hailed as a hero. You have to sort of fold that in and recognize that that's a big part of Trump's power. And you can see that playing on the elected officials certainly in state legislatures and places like that. Much less it seems to be happening in the US Senate. They said, Lindsey Graham said, we'll be shot in the back. I mean, I assume he meant that as a metaphor, but I'm not so sure it's not a literal fear of a lot of these people.
I want to just, touch a little bit about the Democratic response to all this. I mean, the way that they're dealing with this, because I think I saw this first report about the Meadows, email, which had this PowerPoint from Brian Schatz, the senator from Hawaii. And it was, and our old friend Atrios was commenting on it. And he makes a point that I think, we've probably made many times on the show, but it bears repeating. If the Democrats seem to be waiting for some third party, ostensibly, I don't know, the heir to David Broder, whoever that is, some like a conventional wisdom, I don't know if it's Dana Milbank or, Chuck Todd or whoever it is. To come in and decree that this is wrong and the press should get excised about this and exercised about this and should be, concerned. And the Democrats seem to be just sort of like waiting on some level. They're talking about in very general terms. You got Joe Biden out there, talking about the concerns he has about democracy around the world. I mean, maybe there should be a focus on what's going on in this country. And, maybe there should be a little bit more of aggressiveness by the Department of Justice on these things. And Democrats, they cannot communicate to the American public that the Republican Party is off the rails if they are also communicating to the American public that we're going to work with these people and we need a strong Democrat. I mean, you cannot do both at the same time. And it's like they're waiting for someone. Atrios had a post. Where are the celestial hall monitors? As if somebody's going to come down. There's like some referees that are going to come down and go like, we've been watching all of this. And frankly, the Republican Party seems to be out of control. I think the Democrats have done a good job and not, making a big issue of it. But this is what's going on. Like, that's not the way this works. And they don't seem to be doing much in this regard.
It's insane. And I agree with you. And I've been reluctant to sort of, I mean, I get it. Joe Biden, the media and everybody else, Joe Biden was elected to bring things back to normal. They're supposed to restore norms, and everybody wanted just to be able to forget about politics, and Donald Trump traumatized, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I understand the pressure on that. But that's just not reality. And people can say that all they want. And maybe people did want Joe Biden to bring things back to normal. He cannot do that. It's not normal. Everything is really abnormal. And the Democrats have to start protecting the American people. I mean, they're at some point or another, they've got to do what is necessary. Now, I agree with you. They seem to be waiting for something. I think there are a couple of things. I think they are waiting for whatever they are going to finally convince the American people that Donald Trump and the Republicans are bad. I guess that's true. I also think they kind of think that if Donald Trump, he'll just go away, if you know what I mean. He's, an elderly person, and perhaps, this whole thing might just solve itself, if you know what I mean.
But didn't Joe Biden say this? Didn't Joe Biden say this before the election? Within 6 months after Trump is gone, they're going to revert back to, and it is, it is,
over and over again, this has happened. They keep waiting for Trump to implode, and he never does. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like after the election, that whoever that fool was who said, let's just let him cry it out and let him have his moment, and then he'll leave quietly. I mean, this idea that total resistance to accepting who this person is, and accepting the power he has over millions of people, and accepting the fact that the Republican establishment is completely in its thrall, and recognizing now how powerful this thing is, and that feeling that they're jumping on the bandwagon, those who had not really done it. I do not understand this, and it's increasingly frustrating because time is wasting. And the January 6th Commission, I get it, I'm all for it. I want them to do all this stuff, but what is the end game here? What, are they going to issue a report?
Yeah.
And we're going to go, yeah, they tried to steal the election, and that was really terrible, and Trump was in on it, and we're all going to go, yeah. And then what happens? I mean, this is the thing. I don't know what the end game is. Now, most frighteningly, I have heard people on, Brian Williams' show and different strategists and whatever saying, well, what we really need to do is overwhelm them at the ballot box. Well, that's really great. Good luck with that, because they've got a bunch of people, they've installed a bunch of people in the election offices that are going to make that impossible. They're going to be counting the votes. So that head in the sand idea is ridiculous.
And also, how do you get them to the ballot box?
Exactly.
How do you get them to the ballot box?
Who's going to do it?
You can't just say everybody's got to go. You got to give them a reason. You got to show them. Let me ask you this too. And there's clearly some major difference in the understanding of what happened on that day between the U.S. military, particularly a couple of generals, and the National Guard, like to the point where apparently two more first we had 2 days ago a former National Guard colonel who wrote something like 35-page memo detailing how, and calling two of these generals, one of whom is Flynn's brother, unmitigated liars in the way that they have presented this stuff. There is now apparently an Army report that was obtained by Politico, and that's the way two more DC National Guard officials have taken a look at this. One of them is the sergeant at arms now in the House, this guy Walker, and his job is to do security for the area. And he's saying there's like made up stuff in this, like that involves me even, that involves Walker, not me. But we could be looking at just sort of like a CYA situation which if, we have a CYA situation, we should really hold those people to account for what they're trying to cover, for their asses that they're trying to cover. But that's the best case scenario, right? Where it's like, these guys weren't, they may have just messed up and made the wrong decision, or they may have been influenced to make the wrong decision at that moment in terms of sending help. And you sort of get the sense that maybe we should know that, because they're clearly lying about the situation that took place. And we should really understand why that is. And again, this is another one of the things, like, it's reported in Politico, but if the leadership in the House and the Senate doesn't stop everything for this, there's no way to communicate to the American public that there's something wrong. It's not enough to go like, our democracy is in peril and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, we're going to try and, negotiate on this defense bill. We're going to join hands, and it's going to be a kumbaya moment for, an $800 billion defense bill. This is not a message that's being sent out. This is a mishmash.
Oh, it is. And, and like you said, Biden having this, democracy summit, it's like, that's just some kind of weird, performative, little Zoom call, basically, that is designed to say a bunch of stuff, but doesn't actually do anything. Now, look, I recognize the limits with the U.S. Senate. The 50-50 Senate is a disaster because of Joe Manchin and some other, quasi-Republican Democrats who are holding up things like, the John Lewis bill and things like that. I get it. But, that's part of the messaging as well that is going awry. There is power in the presidency. There's power in the party. There's power that, I don't see a lot of pressure on people like Joe Manchin on those issues and making it clear over and over again. If Trump can do it, he pressured, and granted, he didn't get everything he wanted either, but this is an existential threat that we're talking about. This isn't, this is like just saying, hey, we know that, the Soviet Union is about to launch nuclear weapons. It's 1964 and they're about to launch nuclear weapons, but hey, it'll be disturbing and we don't really know what to do, so we're just going to ignore it. You cannot do that. This is serious stuff. And I know that it's tempting to dismiss Donald Trump as a clown, and he is a clown, and the people around him are clowns. And we all laugh about it, and it's really funny, and late night comics make fun of him. But this thing is happening on a sort of a structural level now. This isn't. It's
a clown show. The problem is we're in a clown show, and this guy is the king clown.
And he's king clown, and the whole system has become a clown show. And yet the system is really powerful, and it has the ability to actually, keep bringing up Barton Gellman's piece, but it's important because he sort of, brought the whole thing into focus, which is that January 6th was a run through. And we're talking about the ability to do this again. And they're going to try some stuff again in 2022. They're trying these things out. Democrats know this. They're looking at it. They can see it. And yet it's just like this impotence is what's killing them, or at least perceived impotence, because as you pointed out, who's going to vote for this? People are going to withdraw to their lives and go, it's nothing I can do. We'll just have to ride this out, see what happens. Because, they worked their asses off in 2018 and 2020, voting for people they didn't particularly love. And, there was no real kind of, activist passion in the sense that, wow, we're really making progress here. It was purely just, we've got to stop Donald Trump, and I'll vote for Abigail Spanberger if that's what it takes to, to get the House. That was the way people were, or Joe Biden for that matter. I'll vote for him. Okay, I didn't want him, but whatever, I'll do it. And you figure that was going to be the message from the people, from the base of the Democratic Party was, look, it wasn't just to stop him. It was to vanquish this movement, to end this assault on democracy. And suddenly it's completely stalled out, and it's very, very worrisome. I mean, it's easy to be flippant about this, but I mean, I got to say, it is really worrisome to watch this. I mean, maybe I'm watching it too closely and it's giving me a distorted view of it, but I feel that we're just not in the fact that the Democratic Party is not taking this more seriously. I mean, even on the gerrymandering, Sam, they,
Right.
like in a place like Maryland, they could have cut out their one Republican district. They could have done it. They're not in that kind of, they don't have a commission or whatever. They have one Republican district that's a Democratic state. The rest are Democrats. They could have gerrymandered him out. And they didn't. Why? Why would anyone do that? I mean, that's insane to me. And why can't they pull out the stops? The Republicans are doing it everywhere. Look at what's happening in Ohio. I mean, they're basically Democrats are now, in these little tiny, droplets of districts around, and they're going to have less and less representation. Texas, they gerrymandered out all the Latino and Black districts down there. And the Democrats just don't seem to have the stomach for this. And that is really, I mean, who's going to do it? It's not going to be the celestial beings. There aren't any. They're not there. They're AWOL, or they're on Trump's side. I don't know.
Sorry, Virginia. Heather Parton, always a pleasure and slightly, very often a little bit depressing. Well, every now and then we have better news, but this is is disturbing. It's we'll touch base again. We do not see you before the New Year's, which is very possible at this point, being a couple of weeks away. We will see you in 2022.
Oh,
okay. Well, happy holidays to both of you, and have a great New Year too.
Thanks.
Happy holidays, Heather.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, folks. Let's continue on with the program. Speaking about someone that we will not see for the rest of 2021 after this very moment, Andy Kindler is connecting to the show right now.
You can't go wrong. His ancestors wrote the God Bless America song. A true Obama bot, and he believes Obama can never be wrong. Yeah, Andy Kindler.com. You made me laugh so hard, I had to write you your own theme song, Andy Kindler.
Well, it seems to Andy seems to have missed his own theme song.
Yeah, he's still slowly connecting. What's going on?
He's still connecting to audio
and video. Do we know what's happening?
Pardon?
Wait.
There he is.
A pleasure.
Hey, please turn your radio off. What am I doing now?
Look at you. You have really upgraded that office of yours.
What does it say? What does my name say?
Andy Kindler?
No, Andy D. I was able to bring the people in from Zoom. Last time I was here, I had my poker name up there, Andy D.
Yeah.
Wait, why is your poker name Andy D?
It's not, Sam. Play along. Didn't you take any improv classes? Yes, and it's also cloudy.
Oh, yes, Andy.
Thank you,
Andy.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Emma. Finally, somebody at the show who cares about me personally, not just for my hot political takes.
Andy.
Bob Dole was a lion. He was the lion. The lion of the Senate. Even when he turned racist at the end and fell in love with...
At the end?
Oh, no, I mean like real... No, I'm sorry. I mean like even when he went ultra racist, he could have at the end said, look, this Trump guy is bothering me. But no, he went the other way. He played up to his racism at the end.
Of course.
He was a lion. A lion. Okay.
Ugh. The only thing I thought about when they were like sort of praising him was just like, how gross is it going to be with Kissinger? That's that's just.
I just hope James Meacham. I'm near James Meacham.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Emma. I cut off Emma. Emma, what did you say?
I just said, I mean, like, it was such a disgusting spectacle seeing Mike Pence and Dick Cheney hobnobbing in the audience today. I caught a little bit of that before we went on air. Like, we're going to see the same thing with Dick Cheney, too, and Kissinger.
Dick Cheney, in so many ways. That's the thing, when these people die, how do you come up with, it's almost impossible to say something positive about Bob Dole. You have to look. You have to go back to the World War II things. You know, my Uncle Sandy was in World War II, but then he didn't turn into a right-wing hack.
A-hole. Right. There you
A-hole.
go.
Yeah, can I curse here?
Well, I mean, sure. I mean, you can. I think people are here to see Andy Kindler.
Sam, are you okay today?
Yeah,
You seem just put off by the fact that I'm all set up over here.
No, I'm admiring. I'm trying to get a look at what's going on there. Like, it really does. I can't.
This is what happens when you're 65.
I've just not been able to figure out what is going on behind you every time you come on. Like, why is there a?
It looks like
there's like a shrine. It looks like it's like
a shrine to me. It's a shrine to me.
Funeral home. But why is there a tablecloth?
I set this up. This is my wife, Susan, and I spent hours in here.
No, but please.
And then when we were done, we started to work with the Zoom.
But what is? I don't understand what's going on with the tablecloth.
It's a shrine. I'll get one item for you. Don't go anywhere.
No, I'm not. It's not even the items. It's the tablecloth. Is that a plastic tablecloth? What's underneath there? Is that a table?
It's an antique doll.
What are Andy? What are the other Zoom calls that you get on?
Poker.
I do the majority report. And
I just want to know, like, what is going on behind there that, like,
what do you want? You want me to have a Thomas Kincaid back there? What would you like?
I don't know what that means.
Oh, come on, Emma, tell them what a Thomas Kincaid is.
I will not, and it's definitely not because I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's the master of light.
Why are the flowers dead?
Oh, that's one of our signature pieces. We sell these on eBay, dead flowers, and you can have it without. I'll send you a bootleg with the Rolling Stones song, but I can't send you the Rolling Stones. Send me dead flowers. Why am I doing this bit?
What? Andy.
Hey, do you like my haircut?
Yeah.
If you don't, wait 2 hours.
Andy.
My wife keeps cutting it.
I see. I know. I've been there. I got my first haircut of COVID like a week ago.
You mean you had other people's hands? You had people's Omicron hams?
It was pre Omicron.
How can they predict these numbers? How do they know that it's going to be a Delta next? The world's stupidest man continues.
Andy, I should tell you this. I wanted to thank you. The last time you were on, you were talking about all the shots that you had gotten, and you said that you had gotten the shingles shot. You and
Shingle does what? That's the commercial on TV.
I didn't see that.
You haven't seen that commercial?
It inspired me, and I got my first shingles shot right after on that day of the show.
And that is so. Now that means that you're almost due for the second one. What were you hesitating? Oh, just age. I forget. I'm much older. Right. You know, I started the Denny's senior menu when I was 55. I got the AARP mailings coming in when I was 60.
Right. Well, I'm at the Denny's level now. I'm getting the discount at the Denny's. That is good.
Am I 10 years older than everybody? I thought there'd be somebody who I started with that I would be maybe 3 years older than.
Bob Dole is your contemporary, isn't he? I mean, wasn't?
You know, he was so funny. Bob Dole. He was always so funny, and his racism was old school. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, he really took the time.
He kept it in his pants. All right, folks. I'm sorry about that last statement.
Andy, we have today. Not sure.
You keep pronouncing things like it's going to be something big. Take it away, Sam.
Well, we're happy to announce today that we have a clip of a guy who I think he's a little bit, I think he came up a little bit after you, Jim Brewer, who has
he has, some people are late bloomers, late brewers, late in life. Some people get more closed. Some people open up like a flower.
And what's he doing?
First of all, the guy was so intellectually funny early on. I remember all of his wordplay bits. Jim Brewer got on Saturday Night Live with this. I'm a goat boy.
Yeah.
I'm a goat boy. And yet they wouldn't put me on the show. Say that I was too Jewish.
Well, a lot of us got that. Here is an interview.
I can't wait to hear this.
All right. What's this interview? Who's doing the interview, Bradley?
They're canceling. They canceled me. Absolutely canceled me.
He's speaking.
It's Clay Clark. He's like a business coach. He's the guy who's the proprietor of the Reawaken America tour that Brewer is on now.
Okay, so here's an interview, and then we're going to see. This is the Reawaken. I mean, at one point, Brewer, I feel like he went on Rogan and realized, like, wait a second. I mean, I imagine that Brewer is probably anti-vax just because
he doesn't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, and then he's like, oh, wait a second. This is going to be the first time in a couple of decades that I'm going to be able to sort of like get back to where I was, at least marginally, when I was on
Comedically, you mean?
No, like, well, maybe.
I thought you were talking about his career. What are you talking about? He's starting to.
I'm talking about like he realized, like, he's like, wait a second, this is a cash cow for me, and so then he made a big deal of like, I'm not going to allow a vaccine mandate in my shows, and then the next thing you know, he's going on. What is the tour called?
The Reawaken America tour.
Oh my God.
And here is the interview that precedes the tour.
Get her done tour.
Can you talk to me about comedy and why comedy is, or maybe you don't agree, but why comedy is truly one of the last places where completely free speech is allowed?
The jester was the greatest, most important person since the beginning of time. Because the jester comes, he kind of brings his message, people laugh, and then he leaves. And hopefully some people go, hey, what did that guy just say? Comedy is the only thing that A, that heals, that B, that can
pause it for 1
also
second.
make you
Pause it 1
think.
second. I just think there's a
And-
couple of things I want to check in with you about, Andy, at this point. First off, the idea that he jumped in so quickly, the gesture, like he's had this, the gesture's been here since the beginning of time. I mean, not really. Probably not. Maybe not. Maybe. What? Like the 1400s, Matt? Would you say maybe the gestures? But probably not before then.
Yeah.
He also said the jester is the most important person since the beginning of time. Not that they've just been around, but
Jesus Christ was a jester.
We do. I mean, he wore that pointy, colorful hat with the bells on each end.
He was riffing. He was definitely riffing. And I think we could all tell that and this looks astounding to me, Jim Brewer's had some work done, but not on his act.
Whoa. Let's go back, because
was that too much?
He also said that laughter or humor or gesture is the only thing that heals. It feels like there's one other thing that heals, and that would be like medicine.
Yes, that's right.
Medicine might also heal.
Yeah, laughter is the best medicine, but not for certain diseases.
But not the only medicine, and
Right.
it also doesn't inoculate you from getting a virus. But
Don't say inoculate. Don't say inoculate to an
Let's go
anti-vaxxer.
back a little bit and pick it up from there.
Jester is the greatest, most important person since the beginning of time. Because the jester comes, he kind of brings his message, people laugh, and then he leaves. And hopefully some people go, hey, what did that guy just say? Comedy is the only thing that A, that heals.
That's not true.
That B, that can also make you think. And
It's the only
if
thing.
you shut down that, and it's the last thing with free speech, which is why if you
All right.
it's like any form of art. You can't
Pause it
just
for 1
say,
second. Pause it for 1
"Hey,
second.
here-"
The jester, just to be clear, the jester is not a magician, is he? Like, I know you're like, how come the jester's coming in and going, "Whoa."
Juggling, Sam.
They
He's
could,
juggling.
yeah. I mean, often it was like little people, and they like imbued them with sort of magical characteristics, and they do some juggling too. But I just want to say, like, this jesters, and they're the only people allowed free speech. Like, imagine jesters coming in and just all their jokes were about how unfairly judged and oppressed jesters are as a class. Jesters aren't allowed to say what they actually want to
They
anymore.
literally couldn't say anything, right? The whole point was that they were there to entertain the monarch.
Well, they could crack jokes and stuff like that, but I'm just saying, like, these guys say they have free speech now that they've made this turn, and all they do is complain about how unfairly, like, silent jesters are.
Well, don't forget at the beginning of time, though, they were riffing on the cave paintings at the beginning of time. Who drew this?
Right. I mean, there's supposedly the jesters would come in and sort of sneak in a little bit of social commentary because the king would otherwise lop their head off, and they would have to be in the context of a joke so that the king could hear these things. But instead of like coming in and talking about how the peasants need healthcare, they're coming in and going like, super tough out there for jesters.
When are they going to get off my back?
Exactly. Continue.
Shut down that, and it's the last thing with free speech, which is why if you get it's like any form of art. You can't just say, "Hey, here's my new thing. It's called a phone." You're going to have a million different reactions. You can't lump it in one sum and go, "We don't like the phone because it's just offensive." And what is offensive? I even talk about in the new special. What's offensive? Defining the gender of a potato head toy? Is it going to war?
No,
That should
racism.
never be a
Racism
war.
is
People
offensive.
Come home with no legs. Is that offensive? Is that on the front line? There's many. You can't define. Is it food that gives you cancer? Are we going to put what exactly is offensive? So.
Oh man,
Comedy
He shouldn't go on TV.
Comedy is the most important element of human existence, if you ask me. It is a thing that can heal you from just the worst tragedy in life, the worst sickness you're dealing through. If you don't have comedy, you're in serious trouble. You need to be humbled. You need humility in life, and that is one of the essence of life. Faith, comedy. You need.
No, this can't be the first question he was asked. The first question, right?
He's rolled in faith and humility into comedy. Like that's all you need. You need comedy. That's the most important thing with faith and humility.
And he couldn't be less funny. Couldn't be less funny in this particular clip, right? There's the.
And
let me tell you why humor
what was he
is
saying
so
with
important.
the phone? With the phone, yeah, offensive with the phone. Is that offensive?
It's just racism is just a communication device, right? Is that what he's saying?
I couldn't make a lot of what he was saying there, other than like comedy's the most important thing, according to the comedian, and faith.
Maybe that just wasn't the right medium for it, right? I mean, he's meant to be on stage. He's not meant.
Yes,
to
that's true.
News.
Is that the end of the interview?
Yeah, that is the end of it, and we probably should just see, just to be fair, even though I'm now seeing he's beginning to be trending on Twitter now, so maybe just people can't stop laughing, like what some of this act is on the America First tour.
To some Brewer praxis.
Let's see the jester in action.
American faith. That's not. Oh, here we go.
You know what a cockatoo is? A cockatoo.
Oh.
Loving it. These guys Bluetooth earbuds in.
Look at all those different types of white people.
This looks like a great crowd.
And that's what everyone's become.
Yes, that is what everyone's become.
Little cockatoos staring at the screen.
Facts and figures, facts and figures. Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci.
Oh my God.
Trust the science. Trust the science.
Oh my God. He's doing his Jack Nicholson.
Specialist. Numbers going up. 1 mass, 2 marks. Fascinated. Double.
I don't know about you, but I feel like I've been
That's
healed.
hilarious.
My God. You know, that's the thing is that, you know, without comedy, we would not have the truth that talking about double masking or getting vaccinated is like being a bird.
Right. Yeah, get your shots. You won't be hospitalized if you get a vaccine.
You know what's great about that bit is no matter what happens in the future, he's always going to be able to do that bit. It could be like, he could be talking about like floating cars, or whatever it is. We're all just orbs now. We're all, or like he could do this. He could be doing this for decades from now and just fit any other things in it that he wants to say.
You ever see a Democrat or two? Climate change.
Where half the country's under the water. Half the country.
Rush Limbaugh got a Medal of Honor. Okay, look, the guy has never been. The thing that's pathetic about it, and it's sad. It would be sad if it wasn't so funny to me. Is he is a comedian who never had a sentence in his act. Never a sentence. He pitched Goat Boy like. So now he's trying to get with it. He thinks now he's awake. He's politically aware. He's getting into that Adam Carolla area.
Right. I mean, I still think that's an amazing. I don't know if his whole act is that. Just he does every joke in the context of if he's a cockatoo. But he could have gone back in time. He could be at the Civil War and just be like, "They're gonna take Richmond. You're gonna take Richmond." You know, like just do anything as a cockatoo voice, and it would be just as hilarious.
Well,
Yeah, you guys don't seem to be appreciating the fact that it's basically like a Swiss Army knife act. You can apply it to every like that. There is talent in making it that applicable.
Well, he's constantly doing it's the dumb guy he's doing, but it's him. And I don't mean that as an intellectual thing because my father made me feel like I was stupid sometimes. So I don't mean it that way, but I mean that this is the way he claims to talk normally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm reminded of when I used to watch Half Baked at sleepovers, and Jim Brewer was so funny because of this very low common denominator. Like, hey man, yeah, that's.
And look, can you believe it? Chappelle. Look at the two people in that movie. Yeah. Chappelle. Now you hear the name Chappelle, and you think of anti-trans material, and not even material. I mean, what happened to the two greatest lights of our industry, Chappelle and Jim Brewer?
They both something must have happened on the set of Half Baked. That
you should have known, but like Sam, you knew that. Did you start? I mean, I didn't start in New York, even though I'm from New York. But this was like Jim Brewer's like at the clubs on the island.
I never knew Brewer. I mean, Chappelle and Neil Brennan wrote Half Baked in my apartment. I was roommates with Neil Brennan at the time. But Brewer I never knew, although I think we shared a manager. And you know, look, Brewer went on he sort of disappeared and did like a radio show. I think it was on Sirius.
I was on his radio show, and then he was just going, how's it going, Andy?
Yeah, he was just a guy who just liked to party, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think he's probably, I don't know, maybe he's stopped partying, and he got the God Squad thing going right now. I think it seems like.
Is that the tour, the American Faith tour?
Who's on this tour? Can you get us more information on the tour? Because he's the jester, and apparently who are the other people on the tour with him who are also truth-telling, but they're not jesters. I thought that was, I don't
There's only
understand.
7 right-wing comedians.
Well, Michael Flynn's involved, so you have.
Yeah, there's Michael Flynn. There's the My Pillow guy. Like, who are all these people?
Well, I see
Roger Stone.
Yeah, Alex Jones.
Alex Jones is in
this
there?
is supposed to be like a Sergeant Pepper takeoff?
I don't understand what this is. Are all these people on tour?
No, I think it's a Sergeant Pepper takeoff. And you see Brewer in the bottom left, right? He doesn't usually do physical humor, but in this particular case, he's going with a face there.
Clay Clark's Reawaken America tour.
It's a little busy. I might,
Who's the guy in the front though?
It's like a 35-hour show. Look at all the people they have on there.
Well, it's
I don't understand what's going.
A 3-day show.
Oh, is that what it is? Or no?
Magapalooza?
Yes, December 9th and 11th.
Okay. So to be clear, we should be clear about this.
Yeah.
It's not a tour. It's not going anywhere.
I was for a
It's
second.
in one place for 3 days.
Called the tour.
Sam, Dallas is the first stop. It's Dallas, Phoenix, Canton, Ohio, San Diego, Redmond, Oregon.
It's the racist Thunder Tour.
So this is a rolling conference that they're having.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I need to hear. I will do this if it helps at all. I will do some more research on this because I happen to be familiar with a couple of right-wing comedians from the old days. People who they were like regular comedians. Like there's a guy named Evan Sayet. Have you heard that name?
No.
I don't think you would have. But he's a comic who used to. I was friends with him back in the old days, and then he comes into the Improv 15 years ago and just starts saying about how horrible the liberals are, and it's like.
Did he find out that you were Jewish?
Well,
it takes a long time. I mean,
my birth name
most people hang out with you for like 10, 15 years, and then they're just like, what? What do you mean?
I think he's Jewish.
Passover.
Though.
What?
He might be Jewish. There's a lot of right-wing. It's a lot of right-wing Jews.
Who else? Who else from that era were conservative comedians?
Well, that's the thing. I'm trying to think about. These are people.
Well, Dennis Miller. I mean, but
well, yeah, but I mean, like people
sort of
who. Dennis Miller. He's just looking at facts. I mean, Dennis Miller. He's gone off the deep end, as one example of that. But I mean, well, first of all, right-wing comedy is impossible. You can't have comedy based on celebrating.
I think we just watched Jim Brewer really skew Anthony Fauci by saying that only cockatoos say his name.
It was also a very that's the noise I've heard in dinosaur animations when the pterodactyl comes down.
That is a very much Jim Brewer. Ugh, he's doing that.
I mean,
bit.
is this really a good impersonation of a cockatoo? Can we play that again and get let's deconstruct some of the joke. It is, the premise is cockatoo, and then the punchline is just words, and then more cockatoo. Let's watch this.
In a coal mine, you have the cockatoo in a pandemic, I think.
There you go.
You can't analyze this stuff. You just have to let it wash over you.
You know what a cockatoo is? A cockatoo.
That's a pterodactyl.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You're absolutely right, Emma. That is not a cockatoo.
I love how most of the wives there have to look at their husband to see if they're allowed to laugh.
And that's what everyone's become. Little cockatoos staring
Hold
at
on,
the
pause
screen.
it for 1 second. Pause it. Leave it up. Find jobs that don't require COVID-19 vaccines at timetofreeamerica.com.
This is so good. This is so good.
This is wow. All right, keep going.
Maybe you'd like to sell hydrochloroquine door to door. There's many opportunities for you.
And figures, facts and figures. Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci.
Is that what Dr. Fauci sounds like? I don't think so, Sam.
Oh, I think he's...
Trust the science. Trust the science.
They had to edit that, Sam. That's why they got the audience view. They had to edit the funniest parts of this.
Specialist, numbers going up, one mask, 2 mics, fascinated,
I wonder if what I find interesting about his stylings here is that when he gets too deep into actually saying the words, and I guess the premise is that a cockatoo, does that repeat? Is that like a parrot? Is he saying that we just mindlessly parrot what we see on TV?
I think he really is making up. I don't think that has any cockatoo connection. Does a cockatoo make a cockatoo sound at least?
Cockatoos apparently don't talk.
Cockatoos don't talk. Okay, so it's really okay. Well, he meant parakeet. But
he still has to ask the audience if they know what a cockatoo is. That's how insecure this guy is. He still has to go, anybody familiar with cockatoos? Well, then you're going to love this.
So the idea is that and I like the fact that when he says things that don't get a response, he's got to actually work the
pterodactyl.
He's got to work it even harder. He's probably has in his mind, having done this so many times, he probably knows that if I lose them, I've got to go to this. If I'm on a roll, I can just do this. But if I'm completely dying, I got to do.
I think you may have decoded the Jim Brewer.
I think
secret.
That's the formula.
Yeah.
He could do like how Gallagher had Gallagher 2, his brother, go around and do his act. I feel like there's an opportunity here. You could do a tour where you were a Jim Brewer tribute comic.
I'm beginning to think he's the only comic on this thing, right? That he's the comic.
I'm starting to get sense that that's the case.
Yeah, it's because if you look at that thing of the other people speaking there, it's Flynn. There's no other comic. There's no other.
Well, he's lifting the crowd up before in the interim between Don or Eric Trump and Michael Flynn coming on.
Where did the pillow guy have his horrible thing? Was that Texas? He had a horrible thing too.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know where that was. That was
Dakota, I thought.
That was in Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
We got a couple of IMs. Weed scientist says Harlan Williams is a big funder of paramilitary death squads. And he goes on to say, and then Fierce Deity says, wait till you get to his dynamite quote, cancel culture is like a great blue heron bit.
Matt sent something in Slack that I feel like we need to, because this is such a good call.
Oh, well, it's the wrong clip, but it reminded me of Dane Cook doing his
dang.
dinosaur stuff. But yeah, it's pretty much identical to Dane Cook just gooning around the
dinosaur I remember that special.
Handouts to the wealthy. Pirates.
I mean, that's the thing is you could do like a left wing Jim Brewer. You just put in seize the means of production.
Yeah, or you could do one that's making fun of them, where it's Donald. I can't do the impression, but gets upset about Dr. Seuss and stuff like that. Dr. Seuss is canceled.
Mr. Potato Head, Mr. Potato Head, ha!
And he is the luckiest, except for Joe Piscopo.
I'm gonna get millions
he
of
is
dollars.
the luckiest. What's that?
I'm gonna get millions of dollars. I'm gonna do this.
No, because you don't see. You could. It doesn't look sincere coming from you.
Are you
look like
kidding?
you're mocking the character.
No, I'm not mocking the character. I'm totally into the cock.
Mocking the character.
And that's right. Like with Jim, you worry about him a little bit, and that's why it's funny.
Hey, anybody seen a parrot anywhere? Polly wants a handout. Polly wants a handout.
It's really a lot of people go, and the same reason why you go to a car race. Or, see, maybe he's going to have a stroke. This one time he does it and you think he's going to have a stroke. Yeah, I feel like Jim Brewer probably has not been taking care of himself in a lot of different ways.
Well, he's a voracious reader. So a lot, you know what I'm saying? He's out of the loop.
See, comedy's the only way to learn. it really is. Well, kudos to Jim Brewer. I mean, it's
Kudos
nice
to
see
Jim
ba-
Brewer, and it's just unbelievable. Him and Chappelle, and it's frightening to me.
I feel like the Chappelle thing is coming from a different place than.
Oh no,
Brewer.
well Chappelle's funny. Chappelle's
funny,
right?
And
actually, some people would. I never saw Half Baked, so some people claim that Jim Brewer can be. He's never made me laugh.
I mean, I watched that recently. I feel like he's the worst part of that movie.
Yeah, I mean, he's funny if you're like 12, I think, or like 8.
Hey, someone pass me the joint.
Exactly.
I'm wasted.
Exactly. That is funny if you're,
It's like
7th grade.
Yeah, it reminds me of those Adam Sandler movie types.
That's right. It's
When
a low
he's-
rent Adam Sandler.
When he's super, super high, he can really play a high guy well.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's one of his attributes. But I think, what's going on with Chappelle is different than what's going on with Brewer. I think Chappelle is driven by, a
ego,
a megalomania. That
His
is, I think,
megalomaniac.
with Brewer, I think it's like he's on the God Squad and he's realizing like this is a ticket for him, and he
can't be on the God Squad. You can't just. I mean.
Oh yeah.
You think he's going to hop on? I don't even think he has.
He drops faith in there quite a bit. If you listen to any interview that he's done, and you listen to him for more than like 5 minutes, that starts to come up, and maybe that's what got him off the juice.
Yeah, it's also very funny, that kind of material.
Yeah. So Andy, I guess this is just bringing up when are you going on tour for something like this?
I'm not. I can't do it. I can't do it. Am I going to fly for a one-nighter in Lincoln, Nebraska, and catch a variant? So I can make
Omicron.
I don't know, Sam. It really is like talking to an old man who's afraid to breathe. I keep postponing my jury duty. I just don't want to. I don't think it's time. I haven't been on a plane. Let's keep it.
You've been boosted, though, right?
Oh, 3. I have 3 Moderna shots. In fact, the 3rd Moderna shot I got, I'm not kidding. It was bigger than the original Moderna shot. I had 102. I got sick. I mean, I'm not like saying like an anti-vaxxer. I'm just saying.
You got vaccine injured. You got vaccine injured.
No, I mean, I'm up. I am ready to go. There's nothing that can stop me. But no, I'm not. I don't think I'm going out. Maybe in the summer. How about you? Where are you? Where are we taking our version of the American Faith tour?
Well, we are actually on to celebrate January 16th. We're doing a live majority report. Now we're going to be, you got to be vaccinated to come in. You got to get, we're going to probably wear masks in there. I don't know if we're going to wear masks on the stage, but we're going to be
vaccinated. Got to be vaccinated to get in.
Got to be vaccinated. Don't pass COVID. Don't pass COVID, says the bird. I almost think that like maybe the U.S. government should actually just promote vaccinations that way.
Right. You don't want
time to actually get a shot. Time to get a shot.
I love it when he gets down to the level of creeps like Dr. Drew when he got in trouble. I love when he got in trouble and had to apologize because he has always had the veneer of the medical profession to cover.
Oh, I've heard I know some people who worked on his
celebrity rehab.
Yep. And they said it was one of the most despicable things they've ever been around.
Well, just the fact that someone would buy the show, Celebrity Rehab,
it's just my understanding is that. Let me say this in a way that
doesn't get you sued.
Exactly. My understanding is that this person, anyways, felt like there was serious manipulation of the contestants that was geared less towards their recovery and more towards creating, drama.
Yeah, it's just like the Facebook algorithms. It's the exact same thing. What can we do to make them more desperate? and more on the verge. The other thing that's weird is that he used to go on K-Rock, Dr. Dre. I just can't believe. I think he's gotten so progressively worse, even though he was never.
Right.
He was always, I think, a phony.
Well, I think that must have been the case, and I think you know, to a certain extent, like this is you know, we see this in all of these different industries. You know, the intense desire for celebrity and cash.
That's what ruined Dr. Phil. You know what I mean? He was.
We're going to see that with Dr. Oz very shortly too.
Oh my God! Now I did hear Dr. Oz at least is a good surgeon, even though seems to be a horrible.
He was a good surgeon, but apparently after the surgery stuff, which it seems to have been a while back, there's a lot of reporting on how he provides not terribly sound medical advice on his TV show.
You just take for a few weeks. He would every day would be you take a piece of chicken, you put it in a thing, you stick it behind your ear. You will not be blind. Your blindness will go away.
Andy. Emma stepped out for a moment, but and she's back in time to
say goodbye.
Say adieu. Yes.
Adieu. Quel dommage.
Adieu. Adieu.
Adieu. I'm a French cockatoo.
Now, how much cockatoo work do you guys do on Thought Spiral?
On Thought Spiral, we do a lot of wacky voices.
Is that right?
We just was named the #1 podcast for people over 59.
Is that right?
Podcast white Jews.
White Jews over the age of 59, #1 podcast.
Yeah. It's flying off. The other thing is, don't forget that you can still you can get me as a cameo for the holiday season.
Oh,
$35.99.
That's
is that what it is?
Cameo price.
It's not a good price, Emma, because I really actually believe, I'm not saying I'm doing God's work, but I think I'm making people happy for
$35.99. That's worth it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
would it kill either one of you two to buy something for your?
I have a feeling that you may be getting a request from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So that's that. So that's what I'm looking. So I'm looking for ways not.
How
to
many
leave the house.
cameos are you doing a day now?
I don't know if I can tell you how many I've done completely. I have done. It also tells you how much you made total.
$75.
I have made a total of $8,262.
Whoa! At $35?
Yeah.
Sam, you should do Cameo. I feel like you'd get to say personalized things to people. Although that's kind of what you do with the IMs. People, trick you into saying
You
nasty.
give it away for free.
309. I've done 309 cameos.
Wow.
And it's the only time I've ever gotten 5-star ratings. I never got them in comedy clubs.
No, with the Cameo, you do a great job. I would do a Cameo, but I'm only going to do it for $80,000 per cameo.
$250 a cameo. Brian Cox from Succession is $689.
I mean, he's a Shakespearean actor, so
Yeah. I can't believe he's on here. I love looking at the comparative prices on here.
I got to check that out. I've never done that. Andy Kindler, it is always a huge pleasure to have you on the program.
I love you, and I really appreciate you guys having me on. It almost makes me cry sometimes. I really love this show.
Have a great New Year's, and of course, a Merry Christmas. I know you.
Yes, I love Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah, I'm a huge Christmas fan.
Have a great New Year's. We will see you in 2022.
Absolutely. I'll be sending you all my new calendar.
Oh, like an Advent calendar, or just like?
Just Jewish.
Oh, okay.
Calendar,
Jewish
like
holidays. Andy Kindler, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Emma. I love you. I love you. Bye.
Love you too, buddy.
Pleasure.
All right, folks, going to head into the fun half.
Oh, I would have waited for my break, but I thought
that's all right. We'll take a quick head there. Don't forget, you can support this program by becoming a member at jointhemajority.report.com. We got merch for the holidays, shop.majorityreportradio.com. You can IM the show at Majority App. Matt, what's happening in the Matt Leckian media universe?
This weekend for Left Reckoning patrons only, David Griscom and I are doing the first in our series of Vladimir Lenin readings. So check that out, patreon.com/Left Reckoning.
Fantastic. All right. See you in the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Alpha males are back. Boys back. And the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back. Boys back. And the alpha males are back.
Just want to degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it to my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflake says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman.
And the alpha males are back.
Oh no, Sam Seder! What a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ.
Yeah, or a couple of them. Just put them in rotation.
DJ Danner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break.
That's fucking nonsense. You see white people doing drugs, they look worse than normal white people, and all white people look disgusting.
And the alpha males.
Psych. Fuck them. Snowflake says what? Snowflake says what?
A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. Okay, I'm making stupid money. Hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank.
All lives matter. Have you tried doing an impression on a college campus?
I think that there's no reason why reasonable people across the divide can't all agree with this. Psych.
And the alpha males are back. And the Africans are black African. And the alpha males are black. And the Africans are back.
When you see Donald Trump out there, doesn't a little part of you think that America deserves to be taken over by jihadists? Keeping it 100.
Can't knock the hustle.
Come on, fuck them. Things I do for the bigger game plan. By the way, it's my birthday. Happy birthday to me, Jew boy. I have a thought experiment for you.
And the alpha males are back. Africans are black. Alpha males are black. Africans are back.
Come on. Come on. Someone needs to pay the price for blasphemy around here.
I am a total pussy.
That's right, folks. It is the famous fun half of the program. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if we're going to take any. Calls today because we don't have that much time.
And we just have so much good sound today.
Yeah. A couple IMs first, though. Laura from Somerville. 3 local coffee shops in Somerville just had their management recognize their union, DBF United, third coffee shop union in Massachusetts. If you come for Big Live, visit Block, Forge, or Diesel, one in town. I can't even believe those are names of coffee shops in Somerville. Like we were so excited when I lived in Somerville, which I lived in for many years, a couple of years with John Benjamin. Somerville was not like that. There was we were very excited because there was a Thai restaurant. And then there was like a bar called Chapter 11. I thought that was pretty good.
I like the name.
Huh?
I like the name.
Chapter 11?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Nerd Cheetah. The policies Biden pretended he would fight for have wide support among Democrat and Republican voters. His tanking poll numbers aren't just a fans of Sanders effect. He never meant any of it, and Democrats aren't interested in serving the voters they feel entitled to. Leftover Hillary hurt is sad. Allowing Obama to skate off unscathed is as bad. Democrats help Republicans ruin the nation for profit. Joe Biden's president. I don't know what he's going to get out of this more at this point by not living up to his promises. It seems it's going to hurt him in terms of electorally. Crave Bot, do you cover the U.S. Navy poisoning the drinking water of Hawaii and lying about it? I had not heard about that. Send us an email at majorityreporters@gmail.com. Hey, Mr. MR Crew. Sam, never let them shame you for the lengthy libertarian calls after the amount of time we spent on the Fox News Christmas tree yesterday. Was there a lot of time on that? I mean, Fox was really, we got one more clip, I think.
We did spend we spent a good time.
I don't think we spent that much.
But it wasn't that much,
no.
yeah.
Comrade Kalki. Sam, where should I raise a family? Western Mass or Hudson Valley? I feel as if you have great knowledge in this. You know, I mean, both are pretty nice. Western Mass, if you don't need to be close to the city, to New York City, Western Mass is pretty nice.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful up there, and it's a good community, and you know, there's a lot happening there. And it's not, I think, as expensive as some parts of the Hudson Valley would be my guess. Sam Tightpants, regarding Kellogg's strike update, see this tweet. Apparently young people are flooding and breaking the job application portal Kellogg is using to replace the strikers. That's awesome.
That is, yeah, absolutely great.
Is that true? That is awesome.
Shockers, like with their, they also did that with the abortion tip line in Texas, right?
How does, now Liz Schuler, AFL-CIO president, is saying that Kellogg's is trying to replace 1,400 striking workers. Millennials and Gen Z flooded the job postings with fake applications and crashed the system. This is what solidarity looks like. How does she know that it's millennials and Gen Z?
I mean, I would guess that she got some tip that this was coming from like a viral TikTok or something.
Right. Oh, that's great. That is great. Joe in Kansas City, got to give another shout out to KC Tenants, who yesterday secured free legal help for tenants facing eviction. I owe them a lot for helping me through my wrongful eviction. Excellent.
Yeah, that's great. KC Tenants, I see them pop up all the time on social media. They look like they do great work.
Yeah. Kid tested, Politburo approved. As a radical centrist myself, I want Starbucks employees to know that the people aren't behind them, but we're to the left and to the right of them, leaning in to show our support, whether that support is through an Employee Action Appreciation Day, where the patrons drive through honking and waving as they make their purchases, or it's an improvement in attitude by patrons to recognize how important their attitude and tips are to employees. The possibilities are truly endless and only limited by our imagination of possibilities in this new normal. That is I think a Bill Burr. Was that a Bill Burton joke? I can't remember who the name of that guy was. Clown Shoe Mike, it's official, folks. We're getting a calf show at the Big Live that will be glistening with Sunset Lake Salve.
Oh,
that's not fraud. One of my favorite moments in recent presidential politics was the time presidential candidate Howard Schultz was on his campaign rollout and told CNBC he didn't want to talk in the hypothetical about what I would do if I was president. If you guys speak to Ethan and Hassan from the Leftovers crew, can you talk about the time Hassan opened up his TMBS interview by gauging Michael's familiarity with the concept of dry jacking?
I probably won't start there.
that sounds awful.
Free real estate agent. How much do I have to donate to earn the privilege of rubbing down Sam's calves with Seder de Salve? That would be my competing cameo thing.
This is really my appetite.
You get a surrogate, and you could put. Forget it.
It's just auction on like eBay or in the shadier section of Craigslist.
Thor Gluteth. So this is how liberty dies, with some boomer-ass PowerPoint presentation. Watches an actual shakedown of an election worker. Sam, the lexicographer, what a disturbing use of language. Not the veiled threats. She used nonchalant wrong. Say what you want about Jim Brewer. He's really good at making farm animals look almost as dumb as Jim Brewer. It's always snowy in Ottawa. Yesterday, Activision Blizzard employees declared that they are going on strike and seeking to unionize. They have a strike fund set up, so please donate if you can. We need unions and better labor practices in the video games industry, and a AAA company getting a union is a massive leap forward. That is a big deal, I think. Come shower with Crowder. Can you please amplify this? Greenwald had scheduled a debate with Lance from the Serfs, and it was announced a week ago, but got cold feet on the day of the debate and canceled last minute. Lance was on Emma's Casual Friday show during the Canadian elections. Cold feet Greenwald, but surely he's going to reschedule.
Well, we'll see. He can be cold feet Greenwald if he doesn't reschedule.
I'm sure he's going to reschedule. I mean, look, things happen. People cancel, but I'm sure he's going to reschedule, right? I mean, that would be bizarre because he was really, really trolling for people to come on and debate him on, I'm not sure what. I know he was making a big deal, bless you, of inviting people onto his show for something, or I'm not sure what.
That was a marketing pitch.
Ammonia girlfriend. Mark Meadows isn't quite as dumb as he sounds. Keep in mind that his congressional district, NC-11, is now Madison Cawthorn's. Meadows originally ran as an establishment Republican and quickly realized that it was not going to win a Republican primary in Southern Appalachia. I'm not saying that he's a rocket surgeon, but he knows that he's pandering to the crazies. Indeed. He was Freedom Caucus, too, I think. All right, let's I know you guys did a lot on the tree yesterday.
Yes.
I got accused of being involved in that in some way because of my long record in a war against Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say I was not, obviously, in any way involved in that.
If we could take your word for it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I saw one of the clips, you know, like the reaction on Fox News. It was literally like the president was assassinated.
Well, Matt was saying it was like equivalent to how they reacted to 9/11, basically. I mean, there was a moment where I just like kind of levitated outside my body when Steve Ducey said it's beginning to look a lot like arson.
Yeah, and they literally treated the tree area like it was a new ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
And
which they're going to do right now in this clip.
At one point, they were trying to, on Fox and Friends, trying to say like how this was like a hate crime and against Fox, a hate crime against Fox.
You know, the protected class of Fox News anchors.
Right. And then at one point they're going like, and then, you know, it cost $500,000. I'd like to see, you know, that's a lot of property to attack. And it never occurred to anybody to say like, wait, we're spending $500,000 on an effing tree? Are you kidding? That seems, I don't know, it seems a little bit grotesque to me, but nevertheless, the good news is apparently they're raising a new one. So the tree lit, and at one point, like I think what's her face, the woman on Fox and Friends said this is to celebrate Hanukkah too. It's not. I should just tell you, it's not. Not that there's anything wrong with celebrating Christmas.
Maybe that's why it costs $500,000, because you need one of the special trees that also celebrates Hanukkah.
Right. You get to buy we bought the add-on, and it celebrates Hanukkah too. Here is Fox correspondent Reverend Jacques de Graaf, outside of Fox News headquarters, and
they're hosting some sort of ceremony.
This is a ceremony to bring the tree back.
Reverend Jacques de Graaf.
Somebody asked me, why are you here? I'm here because these colors don't run. 80 years ago this week, they tried to extinguish the darkness at a place called Pearl Harbor. We didn't fold then, and we won't fold now, because we've come this far by faith. In our tradition, we say, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. The red, the white, the blue, and the light of America, we're going to let it shine. And so we go to...
1 second, because he's sort of laughing as he's saying that. Did you know?
Is he?
go back a little bit and just like scroll over. I'm sorry, I'm totally, screwing you over here, Bradley, but like if you could just go back and like see like when the pastor next to him is smiling a little bit. Just scroll over it.
Are those, hold on for 1 second. Since we're there, right there too. Yeah. Are those New York City cops or are they Fox News security guys?
I don't know.
This image is just insane.
It's insane. This is like honestly, it's like a Mr. Show parody. It's like a sketch.
The speaker that looks like some sort of like Monty Python character.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to determine whether they can, they like are in on this absurdity a little bit, but can you just scroll a little bit so we can see if he's fully, like, they're laughing a little bit. They kind of get it.
I don't know. This is the Gettysburg Address to them as far as they're concerned about this flag.
The only equivalent situation is Pearl Harbor, Sam.
Well, I mean, it's no coincidence. This is like, keep playing. Let's keep playing it because it really is insane and amazing.
Of mine, I'm going to let it shine. The red, the white, the blue, and the light of America.
I like the
We're going to let it
USA.
shine.
USA.
And so we go to the throne of grace together. Our Father and our God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We come before your throne as humbly as we know how to say thank you. We remember the reason for the season and our faith. We have a faith that the fire could not incinerate. We have a faith that bullies cannot frighten away. We have a faith that madmen cannot terrorize us on. We come to say thank you and Merry Christmas. We ask that you would bless the greatest country on the planet. We ask that you would keep us and bless us. And God bless America, and together the best is yet to come. And the men and the women who love God said, amen. And the men and the women who love God said, amen. And the men and the women who love God said, amen.
Way to go. Wow.
Thank you, Reverend. Also with us today is FDNY chaplain, Rabbi.
What were those? There was protesters there.
Yeah.
Sounded like.
I think
That's
they're
fantastic.
Fox News.
That's fantastic. That is absolutely bat crap crazy. And but I'm glad we had the opportunity to see that. And
I like how he said after these colors don't run, he had to specify the red, the white, and the blue because I thought he was talking about green and
Me
red.
too.
Christmas
I was
colors.
Right. I was like the green of the fake tree because it's metal. They were saying.
What, like there was no flag burned, right? I mean, there was no. That these things don't they don't run, but they do melt.
When you combine blue and red of the flag, you do get green. So you get the green and red of Christmas again.
Blue and red is purple, dude.
I don't remember. I don't know. I was just trying to make it work. I don't remember.
I mean, it's really difficult to make sense of it. I don't know enough pomp and circumstance.
This is the perfect thing, though, for them, right? I mean, this is how else to get a sense of aggrievement. Their actual tree was burned down.
Well, Branding was guessing that maybe it was some sort of inside job because it's like a perfect way to portray that aggrievement.
I want to know where James Murdoch was at that moment.
The reason I don't think it was an inside job is because they would have made it some sort of like they would have had security camera footage that shows Antifa in the area.
Right. They would have written "left is best" on the base of the tree before they burned it.
Yeah.
There are people fighting the war on Christmas, and then there are people fighting against the war on Christmas. And then there are people who are fighting against the war on Christmas who are also fighting against vaccines and any type of work that is being done to try and mitigate the dangers and the spread of COVID. And so I bring you, ladies and gentlemen, a woman who testified at the San Diego County Board of Supervisors meeting. we've watched so many of these things, like school board meetings and county supervisor meetings. And boy, I feel bad for these people, not the people testifying. But here is some testimony about, I guess, why vaccines and masks and whatnot are no good. And it's done to a song by Mariah Carey.
No. Bridget, let's end this emergency. I don't want a lot for Christmas, just body autonomy. I don't care about the variants because of natural immunity. I just want my freedom now. The Constitution will show us how. Make my dreams come true. In the state of emergency and acknowledge early treatment. Ivermectin, not just horse paste, and hydroxychloroquine, vitamin C and vitamin D, then the zinc and quercetin. I won't wear a useless mask. I don't need to stay at home, and my kids should go to school. We don't need to be alone. I just want my freedom now. The Constitution will show us how. Make my dreams come true. Baby, I end the emergency. Let's have a happy holiday, everybody.
I mean, it's hard to watch that and think that this country has the durability to last much well into the future. I mean, look, people make goofy songs like that all the time, and I guess you want to make your point and stand out at the town supervisor meeting. It's really the content of the actual words itself that are really just the most disturbing thing.
This is, I think, just a direct consequence of the downfall of shows like American Idol. Like, normally she would have had an outlet to audition, and there would have had the inspirational story, but then they also would have had the person who can't sing and maybe a little crazy and they exploit for views. That would have been, she would have been perfect for that. She really would have.
It's a real shame. Is that show not on anymore?
Not in the way it was.
Okay. All right.
But that was awful. I felt the cringe in every single muscle in my body.
But you gotta concede. The county supervisors at that point then decided that you don't need to get shots and you don't need masks, and that in fact COVID's not going to hurt you at all. You can achieve some protection with natural immunity and zinc and ivermectin and hydrochloroquine, because, it's just so bizarre. How much people have held on to this idea of ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. And this idea that
she was like listing all the things that Rogan took. I just I can see her like watching his Instagram story, like, okay,
but we have different
on this Mariah Carey line.
We have different levels of like how people, claiming that it was just attacked because Donald Trump. I noticed this the other day, that somebody was arguing that it was attacked because Donald Trump was promoting hydroxychloroquine, and that's why it was attacked, because but Donald Trump also promoted monoclonal antibodies. In fact, after he got it and he came out on the line, he's like, everybody's going to get this. Now, of course, everybody did not get this, but he also promoted that, and you didn't see, resistance types go like, no monoclonal antibodies. It was really just a function of the resistance liberals were actually like just listening to what, doctors and scientists had said. And I just don't understand like why people got so attached to a specific drug that was shown not to be effective in any type of clinical way.
Because it's taking it as owning the libs. That's really it. It's like an act of defiance against.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same way like any sort of NFT gets popular. Like once one gets popular, you stick with it because that's the one that you can use as a propaganda vehicle. And with ivermectin, it was just like they had to move to ivermectin from hydroxychloroquine because hydroxychloroquine was clearly not working. Ivermectin was uncertain and unclear, so that's the one that they decided to put their chips on next. And it was just because of that uncertainty. Like it's all just riding uncertainty and then saying it's a dark conspiracy.
Well, she'll always be the Messiah carried to me.
Very nice. Let's read a couple IMs. We got some Lauren Boebert sound too. We're gonna get to militant apathy. I hope to God she sues Kanye West, buck dancing crazy ass to oblivion. He's a wreck and a danger, lunatic. I wish the MFer would come to my door with that shit. Bro, they're already deathly scared of what white men will do. What you fail to realize is how deep into Trumpism that law enforcement is at every level. They are fascists and they have power. I bet Jimmy Reefer Cake is a total Trumper now. Well, once the Reagan tapes came out with all his racist shit, they stopped lionizing him so much. Democrats are terrified of truly acknowledging who their voters are and who their voters aren't. They can't just give up on white folks in diners in the Midwest. Berto Mecht. Hey, crew, long time no IM. Hope everything is good. Anyway, just wanted to chime in and warn Emma against cashews, almonds, and basically any nuts grown in the Southwest of the United States. Unless you want to become the world's 5th largest economy to secede and declare war because they got tired of Wyoming and Utah having a say over their water disbursements for the Colorado River, penciled that in for 2050-ish. Cut back on the cashews, and God help your souls if any of you drink nut milks.
Wait, hold on. So, okay, I'm just trying to is that a joke or is there like an actual?
It requires a lot of water, I think, is the issue.
Oh, okay. Well, then I understand. I'll try harder. I mean, that's legitimate. I'm trying to reduce my carbon footprint. So.
Skippy, you should have Busey on the show. Oh, that would be a problem. Could I get a shofar just for the fact that I got licensed to provide legal services in Ontario, Canada? Sure. I'll be doing small claims, civil litigation under $35,000, and tribunal work. Being the son of Mexican migrants who spent their time working in the fields of Central California picking produce, I'm going to devote some of my practice to doing pro bono work to help migrant workers have access to benefits they're entitled to as temporary foreign workers and try to push back against the brutal conditions that they're made to work here in Ontario. Thank you for being a welcome source of news and thought-provoking commentary while I pursue this degree. Also, thank you and the team, especially Michael, for bringing the global solidarity struggle into my consciousness. Well, congratulations. Dr. Cult, I'm getting married tomorrow, so can I kindly ask for a shofar? We met just a month before lockdown and spent the quarantine time together. Love blooms in a pandemic too, I guess. Oh, that's very sweet. Jim and Raps, big-time Eastern Conference showdown as the mediocre New York Knicks visit my Raps tonight. Anyway, did you guys check out Matt Taibbi on Joe Rogan yet? I have not. But I think some of that, it's referring to some of that like notion that the reason why people were against hydroxychloroquine is because Trump was for it. I mean,
yeah, and we right. Sorry, go on.
Well, I mean, just the idea that like, if there was something that worked, the same people who are so uptight about COVID and so fearful about COVID wouldn't take the thing that experts said worked because of Donald Trump. I mean, there's two different sort of like themes that are in conflict with each other that these people promote. The idea that people are uptight and want, some type of COVID theater, and the idea that they would also ignore an actual proven technology, if you will, to save them from COVID because Trump was associated with it. I mean,
Right.
there's no doubt people were like skeptical of the vaccine production under Trump. But part of that was because he really earned a lot of the skepticism when he's going in and saying like he understands this COVID stuff and he's telling people to flush their bodies out with bleach and maybe take UV into their lungs. I mean, it would be sort of insane to listen to this guy without any skepticism.
Of course, yeah.
You just mentioned Rogan, and I just wanted to correct this from yesterday. It was not the Charlottesville rally that he basically said was put on by the feds. He was claiming that the December 4th white nationalist rally by Patriot Front was, quote, fake. First of all, those guys are too slim. They're all in shape. They're all thin. They're uniformly marching with flags. I'm like, there's no way these fucking idiots would be this organized. And basically claiming that it's some sort of false flag.
Well, I mean, not claiming, repeating claims that it's a false flag in his standard Joe Rogan way of like, oh, I'm not really a GOP operative. I just really rhyme with them very, very often.
It's just, I mean, but that, like, it's just another piece of evidence in this march, if you will, to where he's at now. Like, that is we're talking.
I said they were clowns. The
hydroxy stuff is so effing stupid. I want to get
it.
Yeah. Here's Lauren Burbert speaking to her supporters.
She's got a new acronym.
Yeah. This is, I mean, when John McCain gave us Sarah Palin, this was all sort of like inevitable. Here is Lauren Boebert.
How many of you know that there is substantial legislation that passes the House of Representatives without a single member ever voting on it? How many of you know that that happens? It's unanimous consent, and they try to pass it really quickly. Unless there is someone there to object, a whole slew of bills will pass by unanimous consent. And so we have members who monitor the floor. Now listen carefully, we're called the Floor Action Response Team. Very congressional, right? Floor Action Response Team, yes. We make things really smelly for them.
the lag there in the crowd recognizing the joke there. It took like give him a good 15 seconds. And then just the underlining of it in case any idiots didn't get what that stands for is just really
we call ourselves farts.
The fart team.
It's just like the level, like they're so juvenile with this stuff. I mean, I nobody makes more fart jokes than me and my 8-year-old son, but that's not the same.
Does Saul ever desire to refer to himself as a fart?
No.
I don't think that many people want to be associated with farts. I mean, there's a whole, I guess, subculture of joking about, passing on farts to somebody else. I don't even want to.
I wonder if people in her district are excited at the fact that we sent her there to be a fart. But at least she's carrying a sidearm. She's normalizing sidearms.
I mean, what even is there to say?
Not much. This is a fun story. Tucker Carlson, true journalist, socialist apparently, had on what was this, 2 nights ago? Had on a lawyer for the January 6th rioters, a guy named Joseph McBride. And, Carlson's on this whole thing. And I, as far as I know, and look, I wouldn't put it past the FBI for being agent provocateurs. I'm quite convinced they do that for a lot of protests. I think it's harder for me to believe that they're doing this necessarily on the January 6th protest, although I certainly hope, and there's been a history of the FBI trying to infiltrate right-wing extremist groups. I would certainly hope that they're getting intel. I would certainly hope that they have informants in these places. But I think it would be problematic if the FBI was involved in instigating the storming of the Capitol. But this theory exists out there, and we've got ace journalist Tucker Carlson on the beat. Here he is on his program with this lawyer.
For coming on. So first, we'll break this in half. The first part of the story is the people who are on tape encouraging illegality, which is itself a crime, who have not been charged. What is the status on that as of tonight?
After months of investigation, Tucker, these people still have not been charged. We have multiple people on the ground, 4 in particular that we have identified. Let me just call one of these people out. Somebody who was tagged on the internet by sedition hunters and Capitol hunters as Redface 45. This is a person who is dressed in Trump gear, in MAGA gear. He's covered in red from head to toe. His face is painted MAGA red. He's got a Trump hat on, a Keep America Great Again hat on. Yet he is clearly a law enforcement officer. He interacts with uniformed personnel. He interacts with agents in the crowd. He passes up weapons, sledgehammers, poles, mace. Some of those things come into contact with other protesters who have subsequently been charged with possessing dangerous weapons and or using dangerous weapons at the Capitol. That is clearly entrapment. That is clearly the government creating conditions of dangerousness and entrapping members of the crowd to possess weapons and possibly use them for reasons that we cannot comprehend.
Wow. Wait, may I interrupt you right there? Why is it so difficult? Let's put his picture back on the screen. Why is it so difficult in an age of facial recognition? This is the largest dragnet in the history of American justice for one Republican member of Congress to force an answer. Who is this person? Why hasn't he been charged? That's a very simple ask. Why hasn't it been delivered?
That is a great question. And if you're a Republican congressman or a Democrat congressman or an independent congressperson listening tonight, I implore you, I encourage you to dig into this and to help us, because our democracy and our way of life is at stake. It is on the chopping block right now. And unless you fulfill your oath to your constituents and to your country to step up and to do the right thing here, then our democracy will be lost. There is no doubt about it. You have to help us.
Yeah, we have an absolute right to know exactly who this person is, at least the other 3 who are encouraging violence.
Now, what's amazing is this lawyer has really done his work here. And clearly, as they say, this guy was a law enforcement officer. He was, and he was all dressed in red with his red face. Oh, well, it turns out, as reported by Huffington Post, it turns out that the agent provocateur is a big Tucker Carlson fan, and apparently the red face, he's an amateur St. Louis Cardinals mascot. So that was not MAGA red as much as it was Cardinals red.
What is an amateur mascot?
It's a self-appointed mascot. You're not getting paid, but you're showing up at the ball games, or apparently he does this outside the stadium and does some mascotting.
He's like Fireman Ed, but
yeah, according to HuffPost, he's Rally Runner is his name. Is somewhat of a local celebrity in St. Louis. A photo of him was featured in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch on October 2013 when the Cardinals reached the World Series. The man, who did not provide a name, told the paper his running, as he runs around with red face. He sprints around the outside of Busch Stadium during home games. And according to, incidentally, his Facebook posts, he appears to have a fairly difficult life and a tenuous relationship with reality, and he's a huge Tucker Carlson fan.
That's redundant.
Yeah, he told the paper that his running strengthens the spirit for the Cardinals to get the energy to win. Apparently, they also lost to the Sox that year. So
wow, he wasn't sprinting. He wasn't sprinting hard enough.
in 2016, he told St. Louis Magazine that running around the stadium was spiritual, that his memory is horrible, and that he'd like to publish his journal as a book. And he apparently got swept up in that thing. But the best part is apparently HuffPo called the lawyer to get his response. McBride was contacted by HuffPost and informed about the man's actual identity. And at first, McBride stuck with his claim. I don't believe that at all, he said at first. Amateur mascot or not, we maintain our position. So this guy's in deep, deep cover, right? I mean, for almost 9 years, he's been at least amateur mascot of the Cardinals so that he can infiltrate a future insurrection at the MAGA rally.
Of course.
He says, HuffPost asked how firm McBride was in his suggestion that Rally Runner was an undercover member of law enforcement. And he goes, I'm just as firm as the government is in suggesting that my clients are domestic terrorists, he said. If they're going to throw out terms like that, then we have no problem throwing out the counter term, none whatsoever. Now, I don't know if there's been a reporter from any type of online outfit that has completely discredited the government's claims in terms of who these people are. But that's what just happened to McBride, as HuffPost went into more detail explaining why the idea that Rally Runner was some sort of undercover law enforcement agent was absurd. McBride shifted a bit. He said his job was to defend his client and he didn't need to be, quote, right in everything he claimed.
That is super telling, I think, because you see Steven Crowder get on this adjunct provocateur narrative too, and guess what? If there's a story and it breaks that there's adjunct provocateur, we will cover it here. But
without a doubt.
And the only time that they will use it is when they're trying to, they're playing defense attorney for, basically, right-wing terrorists. Because guess what? Red Fonfellis was served time for Dakota Access Pipeline for a gun planted on her by a FBI informant. None of these people, have any sort of notion of that story because they don't care about it.
Yep. He wrote, he said, if I'm wrong, so be it, bro. I don't care, said McBride. I don't give a shit about being wrong.
Whoa.
McBride said he was simply, quote, theorizing things and not publishing conclusive findings. He said his appearance on Carlson's show were part of an effort to combat the narrative being given out by about his January 6th clients. If this guy turns out to be some guy who runs around the Cardinal Stadium with his face painted, then that's great. If that's the truth, then so be it. God bless America. Now look, this lawyer is out there. He's a scumbag. He's trying to, defend his clients by creating lies that would bolster his case. And then, obviously that falls apart. But what's really sort of grotesque is that the most watched cable host in America gave this guy a platform, presumably has some, reporting mechanisms at his disposal, seeing as how he is the highest rated show on Fox News, which presumably has reporters and producers who could go out and try and identify this guy. Apparently the HuffPost people were able to do it. And apparently anybody in St. Louis might also be aware of who this guy was. But Tucker had no interest in that. Now, I'm sure there was a correction. Can we play that?
It's not on the sheet, Sam.
Oh, well, I'm sure there'll be one tonight. I'm sure he'll do it tonight. And say, well, we sort of made that up and didn't bother to, fact check.
And not publishing on our giant cable news TV.
And we still don't have definitive evidence that he was not a sleeper agent or sleeper for that many years. So why issue a correction before we have all the facts?
Maybe he was investigating the Cardinals hacking stuff that cost him a couple draft picks a few years ago, and then he just got redeployed to Gen 6 stuff.
I mean, that works. Unbelievable. Not unbelievable. Cancel that.
I wonder if he thought his running powers will help the coup succeed.
I was about to say, someone get this guy to Washington, D.C., and he can do his
run around the Capitol.
Sprint outside of Langley to get your comrades free.
You need some for the spirits to pep people up. He's the perfect guy you want for a coup.
A Square. Sam, you mean the no real response, no substantive action from the Dems. That video was frightening and a reminder that the unhinged are very susceptible to this authoritarian's racist cult insanity. Pierre Pants. Sam, I'm not sure if I'm the first person to ask this question, but have you considered combining ads? Something along the lines of when you say bidet, go Sunset Lake. When you use bidet, hello Tushy, I'm still working shopping idea, but I think you're getting, you're sitting on a geyser here. Okay. I-5, every Democrat politician is on the take as the weakest link. I want to do something about climate, but I want to do something about the GOP. At some point I will, but if I hold off just for now, the money will keep coming. Dave the Dave. Did you guys see the dad using his second grader to argue against the mask mandate? The kid said, I'm adorable. Why would you want to cover this up? Side question. When did the House of Cards become a documentary? Left is best. Rampaging Toaster. I just got my ticket for the live show, driving all the way from Richmond, Virginia.
Whoa.
Nice. Any tips on where to park around Boston? I'd like to leave my car somewhere and mainly walk train. I suppose you could find a place maybe to park it, you know, out in Brookline or, you know, out maybe in like Medford or in Somerville or, you know, and take the subway in. Also, to Matt and Emma and any other fans of the electric lettuce in the audience, I'm going to be bringing enough to share, but bring your own bowl papers for COVID safety. Oh, Jim Brewer looks like he's done a few gallons of PCP. Have you read my email? The effed up thing about the intimidation tactics and the spreading doubt of the legitimacy of elections is being copied in Europe. No real consequences over the fear and violence and dirty tactics in your country. The right in Europe will only be inspired and emboldened more, indeed. Just like Q is being adopted here, too. Politics is already in fire in some countries here, and if the U.S. doesn't tackle this Trump and Q thing, it'll only get worse. I agree. I mean, honestly, if Joe Biden sincerely is worried about this growing authoritarianism, deal with it in this country first. All right, let's take 5 of these. 8 of them. Left of the box is 1. Traveling from Canada to see the live show, I already feel apprehension about the lax gun laws in your country. Conversation with Digby didn't help put my mind at ease. Seriously, how do you guys live with the stress? How do you leave your homes knowing anyone can have a gun and prone to violence? This shouldn't be the normal. I just don't think about it, right? I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even in North Dakota, I didn't really think about it. Like, you get used to it.
The fact is, crime is very, relatively speaking, you know, still at its lowest that it's been in the States, broadly speaking, you know, in decades. Number 2, crazy but whole. If Jimmy Dore didn't constantly slam his head against the refrigerator every day trying to match his IQ with the temperature of the refrigerator, it'd still be only 1/100th as smart as Tim Heidecker or Andy Kindler. And those two aren't exactly the fastest guns in the TG West, brightest bulbs on the tree. The West, I see. Why don't progressive PACs raise money to run political ads, even in the off season, and try and preemptively change opinions? I would think that some do, but I agree with you.
It's such a like uneven playing field too.
Judy Giuliani. Maybe there should be a retiring age with comedians. Indeed. Well, definitely get less funny as you get older. There's no doubt about that. Mark the Shark. Why do I get the impression that Brewer thinks Voltaire was a jester? What's that, 4? Q for short. Sam, I've been called Q as a nickname for 2 decades, and I was hoping the right would move on to another letter, have a conspiracy about. Should I give up the ghost or tell the right they can pry the Q from my cold, dead hands? Well, we found Q.
You can probably
5. Ready for the left. The Kellogg site was flighted from a bunch of Redditors. That's fantastic. Blaze J. Student workers at Columbia University on the 6th week of strike for living wage comprehensive health care and protections against harassment. University is threatened with what might be retaliation against striking workers. Community turned out with huge support and response. That's fantastic. I think we get 2 more of these, right? Margaret from Mass. fox tree burning was a false flag operation. Boston tip, park at Alewife Tea Station for $9 a day. Oh, this is good. All right, ready? Here it is. Park at Alewife Tea Station. That T is the train, subway, above ground train system. For $9 a day, including overnight. You'll be on the right red line. Rate may have gone up, but it was $9 a few years ago when I was working in that neighborhood. That's a great idea. All right, and the final I am of the week. Crab, salt, and pepper. Yeah, but Joe Rogan said they were suppressing monoclonal antibodies. So even though there was no pushback against them, the right believes there is and was, and that's all that matters, really. These are the Blue Lives Matter people. Why would it be odd for the MAGAs to be friendly to police officers? Laugh my ass off. Matt, Bradley, Emma, great job this week. Folks, we'll see you on Monday.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the lie.